This is Lake Valley, a city I left abandoned for 2,706 days before strolling back into town, preaching the benefits of respecting the topography. And the previous episode was a good example of what we've been up to. We created our own topography to make an airport that wasn't whatever this is. We also remade our little industrial area to make it 100% less jank and 100% less cul-de-sac. And we made the rail grade something that we could be proud of. In today's episode, we tackle the downtown, and this is going to be our biggest project yet. We're going to need to totally blow things up to make them beautiful. And we're also going to incorporate a ton of new DLC and content creator packs into the area because we have them available to us, so why not? And if you like blowing things up to make them look beautiful, hit the like button. And if you'd rather tinker around the edges until things look just right, hit the like button for that too, and let me know which one you usually do down in the comments. And if you don't want to do that, why not just drop an emoji that you think is the most beautiful for the sake of engagement? And without any further ado, let's jump right in. To begin, I think that we need to take a look at our terrain and all of the disrespect to the topography that I have done in the past. So if we take a look here, this is going to go. We're going to get rid of this, but I want to show you why. Check this out. First of all, why are there so many of these things? I don't even know what those are. And then we've got cars doing stuff like this. We can fix this, but we've got to demolish quite a bit first. So this is what it's like basically everywhere. And I've gone through and just kind of sampled the terrain, and we're looking at 25+% grades. It almost looks as though I looked at it from this point of view and just kind of drew a grid, but it's not really a grid. I don't really know what it is. We're going to figure it out though. Let's begin by adding a key wall around the bottom though. I want to really delineate the base height of this area and then kind of build up from there. We're going to layer up like it's a cake or something. I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to replace this with a hub so we don't need to worry about the passenger harbor. And I'm going to pull this back and dezone. So we are going to lose some population. We're at about 79,000 now. I don't know if we'll get there by the end of the episode, but we'll try. And I'm going to remove basically all of the trees here as well. We are going to do a bunch of landscaping ourselves and really make this feel like a controlled and manicured place, which is kind of what you expect to see in a downtown area. And can you believe that anything was built here at all? That's pretty steep. That said, we are going to build things here. We are going to make this look nice, and we are going to make this an important part of our downtown. And to do that, we're going to start out with some key walls. We're going to start out with this simple seawall. And I like that this one has some sort of a fence on it so that you don't just fall in the water. I like that we're snapping to the road that'll keep things nice and straight for us. The height I'm not 100% sure about just yet. We're going to be adding a really special asset into the build, and it's going to be really important that we get the heights just right. All right, that is our key wall. The heights are all wrong. Everything's pretty messed up, but this is generally what I want to do. I'm going to take this height, Control H this, straight to this cargo harbor. And that should be the height that we use for a significant chunk of this. In fact, I'm going to probably take it to here, and we'll Control H this to the cargo harbor. And then we'll go into our network multi-tool and slope to there. And I want to drop this down. And again, this is all because of this asset that we're going to be using over here. So I'm going to Control H this one to here. And now we can slope between the two spots. And there we go, nice and flat. And now between these two spots, I'm going to slope as well. And now I'm going to slope between here and this angle here. The reason why I want to slope here is we're going to put some sort of a harbor in this location. So you can start to see that we're creating a terrain and planning around what we're going to have here in the future. And we're slowly bringing this up so maybe we don't have quite so much terrain work to do in the future. Now there's going to be a road along this little stretch. So I want to make this wide enough to fit a road in the future. And this is going to be really important for redundancy. This is a really long road. Down here, I'm going to continue to slope this out. So what I'm trying to do here is get the two ends of our heights. So we've got a height right here, and then we've got another one right here. And if I hit these just right and I flatten these out just perfectly, I should be able to use the slope terrain tool to come up with a really nice, gentle slope all the way through here. And I should be able to use a large brush size to make it happen. And I think that we're close enough. We're going to right mouse click at the top and left click at the bottom where we want it to slope to. And I want to remove all this sand. We're not going to have a beach, so there's no reason to have the sand right there. Now on to the reason why I even created this and why it's as low as it is. There is a very special asset that was just added to the Steam workshop that was put together by Macwelshman, the Monona Terrace. Now, I didn't commission this, but you better believe that I'm happy to see it. This is the Monona Terrace, and it is probably the most architecturally significant building in Madison outside of the Capitol itself. It is a Frank Lloyd Wright design. It is really one of the hallmarks of Madison. And one of the reasons I wanted to add this is I believe when I built this build, I was focusing on a lot of Chicago assets like the Sears Tower right here. I'm not calling it the Willis Tower. You can't get me to. And the reason why I added all these is they just felt local to me and I wanted that. So I'm going to do that here. This is such an amazing asset. I have to add it in. Now, you might notice that I'm backing this up, and that's because at the Monona Terrace, we have a bike path that goes all the way around it. So I want to add that here, and we're going to run that right along the outside. I'm going to turn only angle on. I feel like that's the easiest way to make a nice connection along a key wall. And now we need to get the building perfectly in place. And boy, oh boy, just let's take a minute to admire this. What a stunning asset. We're going to use this as kind of the gateway into the community. I actually built this thinking of the Monona Terrace. You can see that pattern, it kind of looks similar. We need this to be flat in the front, so I am going to continue to pull this in and we'll bring it back even further. Let's add a road. Now let's see how we're looking in the front. There's a bit of an overhang and that is totally natural, so I dig it. That is awesome. Oh, I love this so much. So this building will be the end of our bottom level of the cake, so to speak. We're going to need to remove some more layers though. And here's why. If we take a look at our slopes, that is a 25% grade. That is a 24% grade. And this is 17. So what I'm thinking is we need to snake our way down here. Not exactly a switchback, but something of a similar mindset. And I also want to get rid of some of these lumpies and bumpies. So we'll do things like this. And look at that. We got that down to 0.04 just by giving it a little bit of network multi-tool love. I also want to get rid of some of the things that we have up here as well. So this, for instance, the Expo Center, this is a convention center. It's basically the same thing. So I will get rid of this. When I designed this downtown, I don't think I realized that I added a whole bunch of destinations and that's about it. And we are absolutely backed up with traffic as a result, down to 77% at this point. And you can see it's just absolute madness. That's because we have too many destinations here. So we are going to spread some of these out. That's what we've done here. We've spread out our destinations. We'll get rid of this one. And I'm going to get rid of this stadium right here because I want to use one of our new stadiums. And that gives us an opening to level things off. And then this whole area right here has got to go. We'll save the bean. Look at this. We had the Chicago bean hidden back here. And I'm sorry, Colossal Order. We're going to get rid of your headquarters. I don't love that, the location of that building. And I think that we need to think about a nice transition of densities. And that wasn't it. Using our network multi-tool and the curved road tool, we should be able to make the sort of connection that really lends itself well to the terrain. So we'll go into create connection mode, and then I want to follow that contour line. Look at that. This is respecting the topography. And then we'd enter, and there we go. And now I want to think about where this road is going and what it's connecting into. And I said I wanted to replace the hub that was down here. We're going to do that right now. And for this one, we'll go fairly basic. We'll just get a harbor bus hub. So we'll add that right here. And the nice thing is we have move it, so we can lower this down to where it needs to be. And the other thing we'll want to contemplate is if we have this key wall with our fence, first of all, there's going to be buses driving over the top and there will be people walking through the building. So I'm going to change this and we'll use this simple fenceless seawall. And there's still maybe a few folks walking through it, but if we were to use a normal key wall and merge that into this, it would look absolutely crazy. What ends up happening is there's a gap and I don't want the gap. So this at least looks pretty good. Now we're going to grab this road and line it up with this. Now I'm not sure what our terrain looks like. There's a slight slope. It's not that bad. We are going to slope this out. So we'll have this flat through here. For this one, again, I'm going to use our create connection mode. We'll just hit enter there. There we go. So we're going to need to switch back up to here now. For the time being, though, I want to move the beam. Just temporarily, it'll sit right there, and we will find a better home for that. This road is going to connect over to this area. I think all we are going to really want is road guidelines and angle. There we go. And this is going to become a very important connection eventually. The other thing I want to do over here is clean up the key wall. And one of the things I love to do when we have the node controller is make nice tight angles here. And then we get these little points. And to me, especially when we're working with stone, it just makes a ton more sense. I know that this isn't for everyone, but it is for me. So we're going to go with it. And I want to make this last connection here, and it's going to be the same story. We're going to use our create connection mode. It's just so simple to make elegant looking curves and angles, so we're going to do it. Now I want to add a new road, and we'll look at our terrain. Yeah, this is going to be a mess. So what we've done here is basically make an area that we could have reasonable slopes to. I'm going to control H this into place, and this as well. So this will be our flat area. And the reason for that is I think that we're going to take out another road here for our stadium. So we can start sloping from here. And I'm hoping that we get something under 5%. We're going to have to see. We can get rid of that road too. That is no good. And truthfully, we should just dezone all of this. Sledgehammer time. And that is absolutely a disaster. And it's still pretty steep, but I think we can live with this. Yeah, that's at least acceptable. And from here, we can slope things out and maybe have a row of homes or something back here, another block, and even pull this out so it's not just a sheer cliff. That is not at all reasonable. And this will probably be a sleepy, high-density residential area, but it is going to be a very well-situated area because we've really paid attention to our terrains. We will add a roadway network through here. And there's a lot of space here, so I think that we're going to have another block, and it's going to be pretty tight. So this isn't going to be a full 8-unit block. I just want to make sure that we're not going to disrupt the terrain too much. There we go. It's a little crazy though. I'm seeing all of this traffic already being carried by this, and I don't know where they're going, and I don't understand why. There's nothing coming in here. We don't have power, but it's still there. So I am a little bit nervous that this is going to have a ton of traffic. That said, our next episode is going to be the all city transit fix. So if we have traffic problems, we will resolve them. Okay, so now I want to finish our bike network through here and figure out what's happening with the Monona Terrace. So what we're going to do is turn off everything except for angle. And the reason we're doing that is you can see I can now control it once again. And what I think we're going to do is terminate it right here. And then from there, we will have a pedestrian connection on the other side, and then we'll pull this in. The reason why we're doing this is I'm going to run a bicycle facility right along the side here. And the reason why we're doing that is there's going to be a lot of bus traffic down here eventually. And right here to frame out this facility, I think I want to have a pedestrian road right here. So I don't want to go with one from our Plazas and Promenades DLC though. And the main reason for that is if we were to just connect this through, it just doesn't look very nice at the end. And I think that we have one that will look a little bit better. So we have this blobby zonable pedestrian road, and it looks just like a pedestrian path. So I can grab this, hold down Alt. Because this is a road, it terraforms. So I can pull that up and look at that. I do want to have a turnaround down here. So we will disrespect the topography a bit. We're going to add this pedestrian facility here, and then we'll add some sort of a turnaround for vehicles. I made this a heck of a lot harder than it had to be, and I'm not sure why, but I don't know if you're like me. Sometimes you get stuck on something and you think to yourself, this is the only way to do it. And then we've got this bike network terminating into nothing. We're going to back this out. We want a logical end. So we'll pull this out to here, And there we go. It's pretty darn good. Now, if you look at this, there's some kind of weird stuff going on. We've got the heights here a little bit off. I am going to try to fix that. And then I think that we may add a parking ramp here. The way that we're going to resolve this is I'm going to pull this over, and then we'll move this over here. And then we'll send this diagonal to it. And then we'll reverse this because the directionality no longer makes sense. I'm not sure if it did before, but it certainly doesn't now. And then we'll go and grab one of our new parking ramps. So this is under parks, other parks, and we have our decorative parking lot. And there we go, an ode to parking. This is a convention center, so we do need to remember there will be people coming from out of town here to go to conferences, and they will want to be able to park somewhere because, you know, some people will drive. So we'll accommodate that. And there we go. Here, again, I want to have that bike facility I was speaking of earlier and start thinking about a bike network generally in this area. So we will grab our bike path, and then I want to use the parallel road tool. We're going to tab this to the other side of the road, and you can see it's basically perfect right now. I'm going to back it out a little ways because then we can add some trees to the edge of this if we want. Then I will also hold down Alt and get this out of the road to prevent all sorts of wonkiness from occurring. Now I stopped it here. I want this to connect up with this road. So we are going to get a really small brush size, extend this out a bit, and then we will use our slope terrain, slope up nicely. Then we will soften the terrain around it. And now that I think about it, I think what we're going to do is add our bike facility up here as we start to migrate towards our downtown. This does a couple of things. It removes parking from the side of the road, which I don't think is a bad thing. And it gives us a bike network all the way from the Monona Terrace into our downtown area. Now that we're in our downtown area, I think we need to talk about our transportation network up here because I don't like what's going on. So we're basically necking down. So we're not necking down our number of lanes, but we are constraining this environment and limiting our ability to add lanes in the future. We're going to rectify this. We're going to make this a 4U road and link up these other two 4U roads. That said, this road is overbuilt. Look at that. No need for this capacity. I should have never done that, but we did it. It's fine. We are going to add our bike connection all the way through here. So I'm going to get rid of these things. I really don't like the 1x1 buildings that you can get in the game. I think they look kind of terrible. So we'll get rid of those. And then all of these buildings, wow, they would have been shadow studies that would have been done here. And can you imagine, let's say you're in this building and you have an office right here. Well, you can't even see it right here. You're looking in at this other office and maybe half the day you don't get sunlight. That's really dehumanizing. So we're gonna need to do something better with that. And I'm thinking that we're gonna need to relocate one of these buildings, maybe move it into an entirely different part of the downtown area. To do that, we're gonna need to really rethink our entire transportation network down here. The other thing that we're missing is some sort of high capacity collector coming all the way through here. So we've got it right here, and then it kind of just dies at the baseball stadium. I know I want to get rid of that though, because we're going to use some of our new sports venues, stadiums in this downtown area. And look at all of those trees. Again, we'll add trees back in at the end. For now, we remove all of the trees. But I think where we are going to start is I'm going to remove this road and I want to add in a stadium. We'll need to test some of the stadium sizes. And just for kicks, what is the size of this? This is actually a pretty decent size here. And then it rapidly devolves. Yeah, these are huge. So we might only have one option. I guess we could probably make this work. Yeah, I think that we'll go. This is the medium soccer stadium, and we'll add that right to our downtown area, and we'll get rid of the uses around here. In this area, I want to reconsider what we're doing pretty significantly. So we've got this transport tower. I don't want to get rid of it, so we're going to move it, and I'm going to temporarily relocate this thing, and I'll put it there for now. But this is where I want to have a bunch of transit. And one of the things that we're going to do to improve things around here is reduce the number of junctions. We're going to get rid of this road right here. And then I will also get rid of this road. We've reduced the number of intersections here, which is going to improve our traffic flow. And then we'll again dezone. We'll think about all of our zoning after the fact. All of this commercial is creating a whole bunch of traffic here, and we probably want to spread it out a bit. There we go. And in this area, I really want to have one of those sunken underground metros. So we're going to add this right here. We're not going to connect this up today. I know that's disappointing, but we are going to do it eventually. We should really be thinking about all of the buildings in this downtown area that are facing, that are really prominent buildings that aren't facing the water. So that's something that you would think about. Here's the back of the building, I believe. Yeah, you got parking and some loading. And then the front of the building is facing the aquarium. That is bizarre. So we're going to rotate these buildings around and maybe rethink the general roadway network in this area. So the sledgehammer continues. That is an interesting conundrum. So the trees. So the back of the building actually goes on the road and the front does not. So for the time being, I'm going to rotate this around and move it. And now we get it facing what it believes is the wrong way and I believe is the right way. And then we're going to take this and add a new road back here. I'm going to back this out 1 unit as far back as I can. And that should still be connected. And then we are going to reorient our roadway network a bit. We are going to use our create connection mode one more time. And I want to make a nice angled road through there. Look at that. That is nice. And what you'll notice is that the block sizes that we have now are just significantly larger than what we had before. And I will slide this building up a little ways. And now we can create a plaza right here. And let's look at our aquarium. Again, I don't know the right way to place this. Looks like this is the rear. Maybe this is the side. It's almost as if there is no front. What we're going to do is spin this one around. And the whole reason for that is I want the loading docks in the back. And now right here, I'm hoping I can sneak in a pedestrian road without the need to pedestrianize this whole area. I don't know that this is going to be exactly what I want to do. I might modify this just slightly. And I'm almost inclined to make this a pedestrian facility all the way through here. And we are concentrating that traffic a bit, but I think it's going to be okay. It might work out really well, truthfully. We might even do a bit more over here. Wow, that's a lot of traffic. And there are a lot of destinations here. So I think that we're going to add a parking ramp right about here. And I didn't check to see. We've made this 2U road a 4U road. And I just want to make sure that we can actually fit this all in. So I'm going to back up some of these things. And then the other thing I want to think about is we've got this curviness here that I really dislike. I did this a lot. This is kind of what we fixed over here. All of those loop-de-loos that we loved to have back in the day. So we are going to sever it here and here. And then we'll use create connection mode to make a connection that makes a bit more sense. And I'll line this up nicely here so we can have a grid that extends through. And then here, we'll just connect that right in. And this will not be a pedestrian street, but that's just what I had active at the time. And there we go. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Now right here, I'm thinking that we are going to want to work in our new financial services buildings. So we're going to add a stock exchange. It doesn't fit. I really want this to fit. So we're just going to see what we can do to make this happen. And I think what that is remove this street here. We don't necessarily need this. Yeah, that fits pretty nicely. And we've got a fire station here doing some things. I'm going to change our city service buildings. We are going to add in everything down here, but I want to use some of the new ones that we just got, the high capacity ones. And we're going to really test our transportation network down here as a result. And I want to bring this building a little bit closer to the coast. So I'm going to pull this forward, and this gives us this nice little triangle that we can do something interesting with. And then we'll extend this road down here. So we've really significantly reduced the number of roads that we have right here, and I'm here for it. I think that that's good. And same thing here, our entire structure of our downtown has half as many roads. And I'm not even sure that we need, we've got a power problem. So what we're gonna do is make a new connection down here. And truthfully, I was eyeballing this up earlier anyway, and you can see that we've got some strange things happening. I'll get rid of this, and if all of this stuff dezones, so be it. Good riddance to you. We will add some zoning that makes a bit more sense in just a minute, but we don't want to lose our connection here. So I'm going to turn off anarchy so I can just have a normal connection going up here. I'm going to also lower this down to ground level. And what this will do is force me to be a little more practical with my lines. I'm going to run this across the road here and then down, and then make a nice smooth connection. And there we go. That should be good. We should be connected here still. It's just this one small area that was no longer connected. There we go. And apparently this building is unhappy with our new layout, so we'll just spin it around. And now we're good. All right, so this is the general structure. And look at that. Our downtown's looking good. Traffic flows at 83. All we had to do is completely remove all the buildings in our downtown. Things looking absolutely fantastic. While we're on this topic of moving things in our downtown, I do want to finish up thinking about this area. And really, I think our downtown transitions at about this point. So this before was a cliff. We filled it in when we added our key wall, but our buildings never got improved. So we're going to use that as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to once again dezone our downtown. I want to run this collector right here through the entire neighborhood and work in a baseball stadium. So we have a couple buildings. Wait, we have a transport tower and a casino tower. What? These are the same building. So this is real and this is not. Did I just rename it? No, it says casino tower right there. Okay, well, apparently I downloaded a custom asset that is just the transport tower with a bunch of ugly billboards on it. So goodbye to you. We don't need that. And we'll figure out a new location for that. In fact, it very well might go exactly where that one was. Yeah, I'm going to put that right there. We'll figure out the rest later. So what I think we're going to do is basically eliminate everything along here. And once again, we went full sledgehammer. So this will probably break some power. We are going to want to check that out. I'm going to run a temporary power line along here. This is not a permanent fixture of the city. You're coming into the downtown and you get to see that transmission line. Beautiful. We've got this cleared because we want to add a baseball stadium. And I honestly think we could go with whatever we want. And I'm going to go for this bigger one. It feels like a pro stadium. I'm going to turn off anarchy to make sure that we're not going over too far. Now this road right here is going to be our main collector through here. And we'll use the shape of the stadium to form the foundation of our road here. You see how that just lines up nicely. And then I'm going to pull this in to line up with that sidewalk there. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. That feels like it's supposed to be like that. And now I want to change this road a bit. And maybe we just leave this as is and add a small segment of road right about here. And here's where we make the topography respect us. We'll just send that through right there. And then right here, we'll do the exact same thing using this tool to follow the side of the hill. I think we want to do something better on this block. And I want to center this through here. And we might use some more of our plazas and promenades to liven this up a bit. All right, so now that we've got this here, I do want to continue our grid just a bit, and I'd love to pull this around the stadium. You can see that there is a pedestrian facility here. We don't necessarily need a road, but we do need some sort of connection here, even if it is just another pedestrian connection. And I'm kind of good with that. Although, we're doing some things with our terraforming that I don't know that we can fix. Let's try our custom pedestrian facility. And then I want this to have a nice angle around it. I'm going to add a couple of nodes here. So I'll add one, say here, and one here. Same thing here. And I just want to curve around the edge here. Just feels a bit more gentle to me. I just like that. The other thing before we leave this area is I want to go into TMPE and restrict the types of vehicles that we have here. and we'll hold down our shift button so it controls the whole segment. Let's just ban all the vehicles up front, and then we will allow just emergency vehicles. So all we should see back here would be emergency vehicles if necessary for the area. And then we'll add in just a couple of roads to allow for some zoning to occur back here. I think I'm good with that. So we are going to upgrade this road and bring this back on through here. So this is our main collector coming through here. And now we've got another one of those loop-de-loos that I don't like. So we're going to need to resolve that. So the way that we're going to do this, I think we'll move the posh mall for just a moment. Maybe to here. And I want to redo this roadway network because we've got all these buildings right along here. And I don't love what's going on. So I'm going to de-zone these and delete all of these buildings. And we're going to try to reroute this road so that it does wrap around the posh mall, which is right there now. And then we will get rid of these and use our create connection mode to make a connection between this road and this one. And what we've essentially done there is ensured that our hierarchy makes sense through this area. And that's pretty important when you're carrying traffic on as few roads as we're going to be. And now we've just got to make our connection here and we should be good to go. Now that we have this is the general layout I want for this entire area. We need to start thinking about our zoning and then making sure that we don't have things like this, where I thought that this was okay. And then you pull back the curtains a bit and you start to realize, actually, it's pretty bad. So I'm going to reorient that like that. It gives us an interesting orientation for some of these buildings rather than just being a complete grid everywhere. Now I want to set our brush strength really low again. We're going to pull out this height so that we can slope it and terrace it down. Now I need to get some water pipes run underneath here before we start thinking about our zoning decisions. Oh, and we've also got a problem with our Sears Tower. Look at that. It's no longer on a road. And now it's on a pedestrian road. And now it should be right on this main drag. So we should be good with that. Before we move on though, I did mention that I want to spread some of these buildings out. And I'm going to take this building right here. And what this has essentially done is spread our downtown density a bit further away. I am concerned. If you're a baseball fan, I'm sure you'd be concerned about this as well. The shadows that this building would cast onto the stadium could make baseball games a little more challenging or give the stadium a reputation. I also see that we got some palm trees here. Let's get rid of those. And this was interesting because there were multiple sub buildings. So I had to look at these because I initially looked at it and I thought, I don't see any date palms, but I was able to remove them and replace them with some young lindens, looking very, very good. So let's get some water pipes underneath the road right where they belong. Oh boy. And there we go. That is significantly better. The one thing I'm noticing though is that this building is not very happy about its lot in life right now. So the reason why we rotated this around was to get our loading right here. I'm going to spin it around one more time. And you might be looking at this thinking, he just put it back where it was. I think I did actually. So I put this back. We can load off there. We'll be fine. I, again, don't know the front of this building anyways, so what does it really matter? It doesn't. And there we go. That is pretty good. Now, it's still mad about being on a pedestrian road. We'll spin it one more time. And apparently this is okay. The funny thing about that is now our loading docks are on the pedestrian road. That is exactly what we wanted to avoid. Maybe that's okay. Doesn't really matter. I talked about the site of this building. There's probably no windows. It doesn't look like there's any windows in here. But you would be able to see it. If you're coming up on this ship, you would be able to see it. And that is a much nicer view than seeing the loading docks. So I dig it. And then I want to separate this last building here, the Chicago Board of Trade. We will give that a more prominent location as well. Put that right there. I'm feeling very good about the way that this is all turning out. Before we go ahead and start zoning, I'm going to add some of our city services in. I talked about wanting to add some of the higher capacity city services, and those are just significantly larger. So the largest of all of them will be the hospital. We've gotten rid of a few of these buildings, so we do need to be thoughtful about these right up front. I'm going to turn off anarchy, and I can tell already I can't fit it in. So what we'll do, because we couldn't fit the building here, is I got rid of that road, and then we'll take the Chicago Board of Trade, temporarily move it, and let's add our hospital back here. And then I'm going to spin this around, give it its own road, Control H this to the hospital, and then we'll use move it to spin this around. And now the hospital has its own dedicated access. And this is one of those buildings that has lovely four-sided architecture, and you can see it all the way around. I like that a lot. We'll send that road right up front here, and we'll add some nice buildings to the front of this. And I'm seeing that we've got some sloping issues again, where it's just kind of, it's not problematic. It's just kind of strange. So I think that when you have those, it could just be better to just go ahead, make some improvements, especially when they're pretty inconsequential. Like moving this road down doesn't do anything negative for our build, but it does make things look a ton better along that roadway. And now I want to add a fire station as well. This is the other one that's fairly large. So we'll add this right here, and then we'll figure out the terrain heights. And this is an opportunity where we could use move it to squeak that over. And then in terms of our heights, it's not really obstructing anything there. So we're not overshadowing anything. We can fix that. And then the very last one is our police station. I feel like this one is oddly small, but I dig it because this means that we can basically work this in wherever. And I might just put this one next to the hospital. It'll fit nicely. And we can do some wall-to-wall buildings right here and have a really nice visual effect. Now we do want to move the Chicago Board of Trade, and I think that we're going to move that one right about here. And we've spread out our towers and given it a cleaner look, in my opinion. Now it's time to finally get all of our zoning in place. And this is going to be the fun part. We need to have a bunch of small districts. And the first one I want to do is right here along the coast. And then we're going to add some district specializations to this. So I want to add some of our self-sufficient homes. We are going to add some of our wall-to-wall offices. And then for commercial, I'm going to add the shopping malls content creator pack. So we're mixing in a bunch of buildings that I think are going to look really nice together. We can add a little shopping center right here. I do want to break this up a bit though. This is a very exceptionally long block length, and that's just pretty unreasonable in my estimation. And you know, I think I'm going to unlock these road segments here and add trees in front of two of the segments and a wide sidewalk in front of the one that has the bus garage right inside the building. So that'll mean that we get rid of all parking. So if we're being reasonable, we're going to need some type of parking garage around here. And one of the reasons for that would be the cruise ship port itself. That would be one of the things that I could see people parking for. Not the most exciting use, but certainly a necessary one. And it's much better than putting surface parking. This isn't quite big enough. So I think that we have another parking structure. Here it is, the medium parking garage. I will add one of these. It's not great, but we're going to go with it. Now we're going to add some shopping to this area. So we'll have some of our shopping malls buildings spawning right here. And I'm adding it right here because this is the most prominent location within this district. We'll do the exact same thing here. Then we've got the bean over here. I'm still not 100% sure what to do with that. Maybe we go put it by the Sears Tower. It seems like a nice fitting way to honor Chicago. And then I'm thinking maybe we have some office back here, or remove this and just have some paths crisscrossing through here and add some benches so people could look at the water. We'll just add the bean up here, and it'll be the ending vista of this. Looks like you could drive underneath the bean into the Sears Tower. That is a thing you could do in this city. And then we will add in a couple of new paths up here. All right, and I got carried away. I started landscaping and I got into a zone, and I was having a lot of fun. I'm just going to be upfront with you. And then I realized, oh, I'm actually killing the city. So let's double check and see where our power, yeah, it's not jumping across here. So we're going to need something here. What I'm thinking is we will level just a little bit of this. Maybe we add a couple of offices back here. And no one needs to know why we actually have these buildings here. That's not important. What's important is that they're here. And I don't want to go too far. So we're going to just back away from our cliff, and we'll even space these. And now we've got to figure out the rest of our uses down here. And I'll give you a little bit of my thought process here. So we've got a lot of traffic in this area, so it only makes sense to have a bunch of commercial uses along here. I really kind of despise how much the grid has broken up here. If we look at these just fit so nicely when the grid isn't broken. And then when it is, you get some awkward gaps. All of that said, I don't really have a solution short of fencing. And if I fence, it's going to look probably even worse. So I am going to just leave it. We'll see how it comes in. The one thing I will likely do is stuff like this. We'll get rid of that. And then I'm going to transition. We probably should have more commercial here, but we're going to let an office or two slip in. And then as we get over here, that's where we get mostly offices, and we'll have some residential. So I'm going to tuck the residential back here. And the whole thought process there is that the residential is going to want to be away from some of the noise. And this is a little bit off the beaten path. So let's flatten this right here. And we're going to give ourselves a little bit more space. Not going to zone right here. We're just going to give ourselves some space. Maybe we even put some landscaping here. And we'll add one more bit of office right here. And actually, I will add a little bit of residential. We'll add some smaller buildings. We just want to make sure that we're keeping some space in between our properties and the hillside. And that's pretty good. And looking at our contours, I think that we have to leave all of this alone, all of this alone, all of this. We can run up the side here, and here's where we're going to get some nice residential towers, and we'll just pack these things in. This is our downtown after all, even though we've done some things to it. And I'm only going as far back as to leave that 1 unit gap in between, and then we'll leave the space here. And in fact, we're going to switch this to be commercial. The idea there being that we're too close to this. And if we look at our noise, yeah, that's very, very noisy. So we will switch that up. This road is kind of a mess. I'm going to try to pull this back. I think that that's better. We'll take our brush strength way, way down because I just want to tap the edge of this to round this out. And it's not perfect, but it is considerably better. We've also got some sloping here. So I'll slope that back out. It's 7.9. It's very sneaky 7.9. And there we go. Now up here, we're going to mostly have commercial and office type uses. There's a lot of noise. If we take a look at this, the only suitable locations for residential, it's probably right here. And we'll zone the areas that are suitable for residential, but the other ones we are going to ensure that we have the right types of zoning. Now I'm going to pause this for a moment because we haven't set any districts up here, and I do want to do that. And then right here, we're going to concentrate a lot of our commercial uses. We have transit right there. Commercial generates the most traffic. And then we'll have some sort of transit option over here, I'm guessing as well. So significantly less commercial up here, but we've got a lot of destinations, and this should be good enough. Now we're going to add some districts, and we have one large district over downtown. And I think we're going to be okay with this large district. I did separate it a bit. And basically the thought is when you cross the main drag, the character, the buildings will change. I'm going to pull this over here though, because we said that this area is one thing and this is something else. So this will be one of the edges of downtown. And there's not going to be many buildings in there, probably mostly commercial. And we'll need to be thoughtful about the buildings that we're choosing here. I think that in this area, we're going to go with our commercial wall to wall. And over here, we will go with office wall to wall. And then for our housing, we'll go with our housing wall to wall over here as well. So we have green cities down here. So that'll be a way to mix it up. Now I'm going to resume this again. And we've got to look at this area and get some things zoned in here. And honestly, all of these spaces here, I almost think just need to be left alone. So we're looking at what could just be a plaza for this tower, that we have a little bit of landscaping and basically nothing else. I don't know that we need anything else in this area. And it's really tempting to go ham here, but I'm going to try to be restrained. I will exercise extreme restraint. Editor Phil here, and I wanted to cut in. Even though we just went absolutely ballistic on landscaping, I had to go even further, and I did this after I recorded the city tour that you're about to see. The reason why I did this is there was no landscaping or decorations on the Monona Terrace and a few other places, and I wanted to go ahead and do this. So if this is something you want to do, and wow, there's people standing up here, that's awesome. You have to use Move It, and what I did is I placed one of the bushes that I wanted to put here, for instance, placed it off to the side. I copied it and moved it over, pasted it, and raised it up inside of Move It, and that's how you're able to get these here. So these are all floating. You can't snap to it. That's not going to work, but you can use Move It to make them float and look like they're in place. The other thing that I did is I went through each of the blocks that we've built today, and I added landscaping in between the buildings, particularly blocks like this one where these are wall-to-wall buildings that don't quite fit wall-to-wall because our block size is irregular. So just going through and doing little things like this, I think adds a ton to the build and makes it feel a ton better. So if you notice in the tour that there's landscaping that I didn't place, this is why. I also added this back here. We forgot to add this, and I wanted to make sure that we decorated this a bit. So we've got one of our towers, two of our towers here. I added a couple of small buildings and some plantings behind it and a pedestrian path to really tie the area together. So small things, but I think the sum of them is that it really makes a big impact on the build overall. And with that, the only thing that we can do at this point in time is take inventory of what we've done and have a brief city tour. I wanted to let this shake out for a little bit, and so I let it run for a few minutes just to let everything fill in, and I wanted to see if our population would grow. But before we check out what the population is, we just admire how much nicer this looks. It looks so much more organized and thought out. You know, this is not the ideal location for a downtown, but I do think that we've made the most of it, and maybe it's not so bad now. I think things are looking pretty good. Our population is now at 76,000. So we've lost 3,000, but things are still improving. And I think it's going to keep improving until the next one. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one today. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I really can't wait to see you in the next one. It is a privilege to bring these videos to you, and I appreciate your time. Take care. Bye-bye.